What happens when a Hollywood heartthrob walks into a studio built for smiles, applause, and daytime calm, and leaves with the room holding its breath? Before we go any further, if you love being inside the most intense moments in celebrity culture, subscribe to Stage View right now, hit that like button, and drop a comment as this story unfolds. Because what you're about to hear isn't just an interview, it's a collision. The lights rise softly on the View set, the way they always do, warm and forgiving, designed to make everything look safe. The audience claps on cue, a polite wave of sound rolling across the studio. Coffee mugs glint under the overhead lights. The table gleams. There's laughter in the air, practiced and easy. This is daytime television. This is where edges are sanded down, where tension is smoothed over with smiles. And then Sebastian Stan walks out. He's dressed simply, dark jacket, open collar, nothing flashy, but the way he moves shifts the room. It's subtle, the way a storm announces itself before the clouds fully gather. Some people lean forward in their seats. Phones are discreetly raised, screens glowing like fireflies. This isn't just another actor promoting a project. There's something in his face, tight around the jaw, eyes alert, guarded, that hints he didn't come here just to play along. Sunny Hostin watches him approach, her smile locked in place, professional and bright. She's done this 1,000 times. Politicians, actors, activists, she knows how to guide a conversation, how to ask the question that sounds gentle but lands heavy. Today, she adjusts the cards in front of her, aligning them just so, like pieces on a chessboard. "Welcome back," one of the hosts says, voice light, and the applause swells again as Sebastian takes his seat. He nods, polite, grateful. He thanks them. He smiles. For a moment, everything looks exactly how it's supposed to. But tension has a sound, even when it's quiet. The conversation begins harmlessly enough. His latest project. Long hours on set. The emotional toll of inhabiting complicated characters. Sebastian speaks carefully, choosing words that reveal just enough without giving too much away. The audience laughs at the right moments. A co-host jokes about his accent, his charm. He chuckles, shoulders relaxing slightly. Sunny listens. Really listens. Her head tilts just a fraction, eyes steady on him. She's waiting. Then she leans in. "So, Sebastian," she says, voice calm, almost conversational, "you've been very vocal lately about the pressure actors face to stay silent on certain issues. You've said it can feel suffocating." The word hangs there. Suffocating. Sebastian blinks once. The smile doesn't quite reach his eyes this time. He nods slowly. "Yeah," he says. "I think a lot of people feel that way. Not just actors." The audience murmurs, interested now. This isn't fluff. This is something real. Sunny doesn't rush. She lets the moment breathe. "But some people would say," she continues, "that with a platform like yours comes responsibility. That silence can be just as loud as words." There it is. The shift. You can feel it ripple across the room. A few audience members exchange looks. A co-host glances sideways at Sunny, sensing where this might go. Sebastian's fingers curl slightly against his mug. He exhales through his nose, measured. "I agree that responsibility matters," he says. "But I also think it's dangerous to assume silence always means indifference." Sunny raises an eyebrow, just enough to signal challenge. "Dangerous how?" For a second, Sebastian doesn't answer. The cameras catch the pause, zooming in, amplifying it. In that silence, the audience senses the fork in the road. He can keep this safe, or he can tell the truth as he sees it. When people expect you to speak a certain way, he finally says, voice lower now, or on a certain timeline, it stops being about truth. It becomes about performance. A soft ooh ripples through the crowd. This is no longer small talk. Sunny nods, but there's steel beneath it. "But isn't that part of the job?" she asks. "Being seen? Being heard? Especially when others don't have that luxury." The air tightens. Sebastian shifts in his chair, the muscles in his jaw working. "Being seen doesn't mean being owned," he says. "And being heard shouldn't mean being forced." The word forced lands hard. One of the co-hosts clears her throat, attempting to lighten the mood. "This is getting deep for the morning," she jokes, but the laughter that follows is thin, nervous. Sunny doesn't laugh. She keeps her eyes on Sebastian. "I hear what you're saying," she replies. "But there are people watching right now who don't have the option to stay quiet. People whose lives are affected every day by the issues you're talking around." Talking around. Sebastian's posture straightens. "I'm not talking around anything," he says, a flash of heat in his eyes. "I'm talking about being human. about not wanting every word to be dissected, weaponized, turned into a headline that doesn't reflect who you are. The audience stirs. Some nod. Some frown. You can almost see the lines being drawn in real time. Sunny leans back slightly, crossing her arms, not defensively, but deliberately. But you understand why people hold you to a higher standard, she says. You benefit from visibility, from influence. And I didn't ask for people to project their expectations onto me. Sebastian shoots back, the first crack in his composure. I didn't sign a contract to be a spokesperson for every issue. A hush falls over the studio. This is the moment when daytime TV usually pulls back. When a producer signals for a commercial. When someone laughs it off. But Sunny doesn't blink. Isn't that a little convenient, she asks quietly, to enjoy the benefits of fame, but reject the accountability? There it is. The mask slips, not off, but sideways, revealing something raw beneath. Sebastian's eyes widen just a fraction. He looks at Sunny, really looks at her now, not as a host, but as an opponent. Convenient, he repeats. You think it's convenient to live under a microscope? To have strangers decide what you believe based on a tweet, or the lack of one? The audience gasps. A hand flies to someone's mouth in the front row. Sunny's voice remains even, but there's an edge now. I think it's convenient to say it's complicated when the stakes are clear for everyone else. The words land like a challenge thrown at his feet. Sebastian leans forward, elbows on the table. And I think it's unfair to demand perfection from people you don't actually know, he says. To reduce complex human beings to sound bites. For a heartbeat, no one moves. The cameras catch Sunny inhaling, steadying herself. This isn't scripted anymore. This isn't safe. A co-host finally interjects, hands raised slightly. Okay, let's... But Sunny holds up a finger, eyes never leaving Sebastian. One more thing, she says. The audience collectively inhales. You've said before that the industry punishes those who speak out the wrong way, Sunny continues. Are you saying that fear is what keeps you quiet? Sebastian's answer comes without hesitation. I'm saying fear is real, he says. And pretending it isn't doesn't make you brave. It makes you dishonest. The room erupts. Applause scattered but loud. A few boos. The sound crashes together, messy and alive. Sunny sits back, lips pressed together, processing. For the first time, her composure wavers, just a flicker. Fear hasn't stopped a lot of people from speaking, she says. People with far less protection than you. Sebastian nods slowly, eyes softening, but his voice stays firm. And I respect them. Deeply. But courage isn't a competition. Silence again. Thicker now. He glances briefly toward the audience, then back at the table. You can see the weight of what he's said settling on him. The realization that there's no walking this back. Somewhere off camera, a producer is probably screaming. Sunny finally exhales. We'll have to leave it there, she says, the professional smile returning, though it doesn't quite erase the tension in her eyes. Sebastian stan everyone. The applause this time is louder, more chaotic. Sebastian nods, murmurs thanks, but his expression is unreadable as the camera pulls back. As the segment fades, whispers ripple through the audience. Phones are already typing. Clips are already being cut. Something has shifted, and everyone in that room knows it. Because when the masks slip on live television, the fallout doesn't wait. And this was only the beginning. The applause fades, but the air in the studio doesn't reset the way it usually does. There's an aftertaste to moments like this, metallic, sharp, that lingers long after the cameras move on. Sebastian Stan sits back in his chair, shoulders tense now, the easy charm replaced by something more guarded. He knows. He can feel it. Whatever this interview was supposed to be, it's already slipped out of its original shape. Sunny Hostin straightens her notes, smoothing the edges as if that alone might restore balance. Her smile returns, calibrated and professional, but behind it her thoughts are racing. She's been in courtrooms, she's argued cases where words decided fates. She recognizes resistance when she sees it, and she recognizes when someone is refusing to be boxed in. The next host jumps in quickly, voice upbeat, almost rushed. Sebastian, let's pivot just a bit. Your new film explores themes of identity and moral conflict, right? The word pivot is doing a lot of work. Sebastian turns his head, grateful for the change, but the tension doesn't evaporate. It just shifts like a coiled wire sliding across the table. Yeah, he says. It's about a man trying to reconcile who he is with who the world expects him to be. A few audience members chuckle softly, catching the irony. Someone whispers, "Wow." not nearly as quietly as they think. Sunny notices. Of course she does. She always notices. That sounds timely, she says, lips curving slightly. Almost autobiographical, given what we were just discussing. Sebastian's jaw tightens again. He lets out a short breath, half laugh, half sigh. I think art usually is, he replies. Even when you don't mean it to be. The cameras zoom in. This is where producers love to live. Connections, parallels, moments that feel unscripted but hit just right. Except this one doesn't feel controlled anymore. It feels volatile. Sunny nods slowly. Do you think audiences sometimes project their own expectations onto artists? She asks. Because they're searching for validation? For someone they admire to say, I see you? Sebastian considers this. For the first time since the tension flared, his voice softens. Yeah, he says quietly. I do. And I don't think that's wrong. I think it's human. The audience relaxes just a little. There's empathy here. Connection. But, Sunny adds, gently but unmistakably, what happens when your silence feels like rejection to those people? There it is again. The needle slipping back under the skin. Sebastian looks down at his hands. For a moment, he seems genuinely torn, caught between defensiveness and honesty. When he looks up, his eyes are darker now. Then maybe we need to talk about why we expect strangers to carry our pain for us, he says. A low murmur ripples through the crowd. This isn't a soundbite. This is philosophy. And it's landing hard. Sunny leans forward, elbows on the table now, mirroring his posture from earlier. Or maybe, she counters, we're talking about solidarity. About not feeling alone. Sebastian's voice lifts, emotion bleeding through despite his restraint. Solidarity isn't coerced, he says. It's chosen. A co-host shifts uncomfortably, glancing toward the stage manager. This is going longer than planned. This is getting heavier than planned. But no one interrupts. Not yet. Sunny's eyes flash, not with anger but conviction. Some would argue, she says, that choosing not to speak is still a choice. And choices have consequences. The audience is fully engaged now. You can see it in their faces, furrowed brows, crossed arms, nodding heads. This is no longer about Sebastian Stan. It's about something bigger. Something everyone watching has felt at some point. Sebastian nods once. I agree, he says. And I accept the consequences of my choices. What I don't accept is being told that my silence automatically means I don't care. His voice cracks just slightly. It's almost imperceptible, but the microphone catches it. A hush falls over the room again. Sunny pauses. This time, the pause isn't tactical. It's human. For a split second, her expression softens. Do you feel misunderstood? She asks. The question lands differently. It's no longer a challenge. It's an invitation. Sebastian swallows. All the time, he admits. I think most people do. Especially when they're reduced to a version of themselves that fits someone else's narrative. The audience exhales collectively. There's compassion now, threading through the tension. Sunny nods slowly. That's fair, she says. But you also understand why people react strongly. Why emotions run high. I do, Sebastian says. And I don't blame them. I just wish there was more room for nuance. Nuance. The word feels almost rebellious in a media landscape built on extremes. One of the co-hosts finally smiles, seizing the opening. This is why conversations like this matter, she says brightly. Even when they're uncomfortable. Sunny glances at her, then back at Sebastian. Uncomfortable conversations are necessary, she agrees. But so is accountability. Sebastian doesn't flinch this time. And so is empathy, he replies. The two words hang between them, equal weight, equal force. For a moment, it feels like they might find common ground right there, live on air. The audience leans in, hopeful. But live television has a way of sharpening differences rather than smoothing them. Sunny straightens again, reclaiming her host posture. Let me ask you this, she says. If a young fan watching right now feels hurt by your silence, what would you say to them? The question cuts deep. This isn't abstract anymore. This is personal. Sebastian closes his eyes briefly. When he opens them, his voice is steady but thick. I'd say I'm sorry you're hurting, he says, and that your feelings are valid. Even if my way of navigating the world doesn't always align with what you need from me. A few audience members clap softly. Someone wipes their eye. Sunny listens carefully. And would you encourage them to keep speaking out? She asks. Always, Sebastian says without hesitation. Your voice matters. Even if mine isn't always the one you want to hear. That line lands like a soft punch. It's not defiant. It's resigned. The producer's voice crackles faintly in someone's earpiece. Time. Wrap it up. Sunny nods, offering a small smile. I appreciate your honesty, she says. Even when we don't fully agree. Sebastian returns the smile, weary but sincere. Me too. The audience applauds again, this time warmer, more unified. But beneath it, the tension still hums. This wasn't resolved. It was exposed. As the show cuts to commercial, the cameras keep rolling just long enough to catch a fleeting moment. Sunny leaning toward Sebastian, saying something off mic. His expression shifts, unreadable. A hand gesture. A nod. Then the screen fades. Backstage, the atmosphere is electric. Producers whisper urgently. Interns glance at their phones, eyes wide as clips begin to circulate online in real time. Hashtags are already forming, opinions crystallizing at lightning speed. Sebastian stands, adjusting his jacket, the weight of the conversation settling into his shoulders. He knows what comes next. Think pieces. Tweets. Headlines that flatten everything into a few explosive words. Sunny watches him go, her expression thoughtful, conflicted. She didn't plan to make this personal, but truth has a way of doing that. Out in the audience, people buzz with energy, voices overlapping. He was right. No, she was. It's complicated. That was intense. And somewhere beyond the studio walls, the internet is waking up. Because once a moment like this hits daylight, it doesn't belong to the people in the room anymore. It belongs to everyone watching, and everyone judging. And the real confrontation? That's only just beginning. The studio empties slowly, but the energy doesn't dissipate, it mutates. What was once a controlled set becomes a hive of murmurs and half-finished sentences. Cables are coiled. Lights dim. Yet the moment lingers, replaying itself in fragments. A raised eyebrow, a tightened jaw, a sentence that landed too hard to ignore. Sebastian Stan is led down a narrow hallway, away from the bright calm of the stage and into the cooler, quieter backstage. The applause is gone now, replaced by the hum of air vents and the soft squeak of shoes on linoleum. A publicist walks beside him, talking quickly, too quickly, words spilling out like damage control before the damage is even fully understood. That was intense, she says, trying to sound upbeat. But you handled yourself well. Really? Sebastian nods, but his mind isn't there. It's still at the table. Still hearing Sunny's voice, steady and sharp. Still feeling the weight of eyes on him. Not just from the audience, but from millions beyond the camera. He reaches the green room and pauses. For a second, he just stands there, hand on the doorframe, breathing. The adrenaline hasn't worn off yet. It's buzzing in his chest, making everything feel slightly unreal. Inside, a TV monitor is already replaying clips from the segment. The captions scroll fast. The edits are brutal. 10 seconds here. 5 seconds there. His words trimmed, sharpened, ready to be consumed. Being seen doesn't mean being owned. The line flashes on screen, bold, isolated. Sebastian winces, not because he regrets saying it, but because he knows what happens next. Context evaporates. Intention gets rewritten. Down the hall, Sunny Hostin remains seated at the table, long after the cameras have stopped rolling. A producer hovers nearby, tablet in hand, eyes flicking between Sunny and the screen. That took a turn, the producer says carefully. Sunny exhales, rubbing her temples. It did, she agrees. But it was honest. Honest gets complicated, the producer replies. Social's already lighting up. Sunny straightens, the lawyer in her reasserting itself. That's not new, she says. But even as she speaks, she can feel it. The familiar tightening in her chest that comes when she knows she's stepped into a larger storm. She didn't set out to corner him. That wasn't the plan. But something in his answers, his resistance, his insistence on nuance, had triggered something deeper. A sense of responsibility. A refusal to let the conversation stay comfortable. Sunny glances toward the hallway where Sebastian disappeared. For a fleeting moment, she wonders if she pushed too hard. Then her phone buzzes. She looks down. A notification. Then another. And another. Messages stack up, the screen filling faster than she can read. Praise. Criticism. Fire emojis. Angry paragraphs. Screenshots of her face mid-question. Frozen in expressions that now belong to everyone. She destroyed him. She went too far. Finally someone said it. Let him speak. Sunny locks the phone and sets it face down on the table. She's been here before. She knows the rhythm. But this one feels different. More personal. More volatile. Back in the green room, Sebastian sits on the couch, jacket draped beside him. His phone rests in his hands, screen dark. He hasn't turned it on yet. He's not ready. A member of his team hovers awkwardly. "You okay?" they ask. Sebastian nods. "Yeah," he says automatically. Then, after a beat, "I think so." He looks up at the monitor again. Another clip plays. This one framed with dramatic music, zooming in on his face as Sonny's question echoes beneath it. The comments scroll mercilessly. He finally unlocks his phone. The flood is instant. Mentions. DMs, missed calls. His name is trending. The words Sebastian Stan sit beside phrases he never wanted attached to him, stripped of nuance, sharpened into accusation or praise depending on who's reading. He scrolls, jaw tightening. One tweet reads, "So disappointing. Silence is violence." Another, "He said nothing wrong. Let people be human." A third, "Sonny Hostin just exposed him." His thumb hovers over the screen. For a moment, there's an almost physical urge to respond. To clarify. To explain. To pour all the context back into the vacuum where it was lost. But he knows better. Responding now would only feed it. He locks the phone again and leans back, staring at the ceiling. The buzz in his chest finally starts to fade, replaced by something heavier. Doubt. Not about what he believes, but about whether he was ready for this. On the other side of the city, the segment explodes across social media platforms. Reaction videos pop up within minutes. Faces framed by ring lights dissect every second, every inflection. Watch his body language. Listen to how she phrased that. He was defensive. She was aggressive. The conversation fractures, each side convinced they're seeing the truth. Media outlets move fast. Headlines roll out like dominoes. Sebastian Stan clashes with Sonny Hostin on live TV. Awkward moment on The View leaves audience stunned. Fans divided after tense exchange. None of them capture the full picture. None of them want to. Back at the studio, Sonny sits in her dressing room now, jacket off, sleeves rolled up. A mirror reflects her expression, composed but tired. She scrolls through messages from colleagues, friends, even family. Her sister texts, "That was bold." "You okay?" Sonny types back, "I am. Just processing." She pauses, then adds, "He's human." "I hope people remember that." She stares at the message for a long moment before sending it. Sonny thinks back to the moment his voice cracked. The way the room had gone still. That wasn't performance. That was real. And yet, she doesn't regret the question. In her mind, accountability and empathy aren't enemies. They're partners. But live television doesn't always allow for that kind of balance. Sebastian leaves the studio through a side exit, baseball cap pulled low. A few fans wait near the curb, phones out. Someone calls his name. "Sebastian." He hesitates, then turns. He offers a small smile, waves. A young woman steps forward, eyes shining. "I just wanted to say," she says quickly, "thank you for being honest in there." He nods, touched. "Thank you," he replies. Another voice cuts in sharper. "Why didn't you just answer the question?" Sebastian stiffens. He opens his mouth, then closes it. "Take care," he says instead, and moves toward the car. The door closes behind him, shutting out the noise. As the car pulls away, he finally exhales fully, the breath shaky. He watches the city blur past, thinking about the question Sonny asked him. The one about the young fan watching, feeling hurt. It sticks with him. It gnaws. Maybe there was more he could have said. Maybe there always is. Sonny, meanwhile, sits at home later that evening, the city quiet outside her window. The TV is on, muted, replaying the segment yet again. She watches herself on screen, listening to her own voice without sound, reading Sebastian's expression like a stranger's. She doesn't look triumphant. She doesn't look cruel. She looks determined. Her phone buzzes again. A message from a fellow host. "You spark something today." Sonny types back, "I hope it leads somewhere meaningful." She sets the phone down and leans back, eyes closing. She knows tomorrow will bring more noise. More takes. More judgment. But tonight, she allows herself to sit with the complexity of it. Two people. Two perspectives. One table. A million interpretations. Sebastian arrives home late, the house quiet, lights low. He drops his keys on the counter and sinks onto the couch. For the first time all day, he lets himself feel it, the exhaustion, the vulnerability, the lingering sting of being misunderstood. He opens his phone one last time and scrolls past the noise until he finds a message from an old friend. proud of you for speaking your truth. Even when it's messy. He stares at the words, chest tightening. Then he types back, thanks. I needed that. Outside, the night deepens. Inside countless homes, the clip plays on repeat, debates raging in comment sections and group chats. The moment has escaped them now. It's bigger than Sebastian, bigger than Sunny. And as the world argues over who was right, who went too far, who should have said more or less, both of them sit alone, grappling with the same quiet question. When the cameras stop rolling, and the noise fades, what does it really mean to be heard? By morning, the moment has hardened into history. The sun rises, but the internet never slept. Screens glow in bedrooms, kitchens, offices, subway cars. The clip is everywhere now, trimmed, slowed, zoomed, captioned, weaponized. Sebastian's face mid-sentence. Sunny's eyes steady, unblinking. The pause between them stretched into something ominous, as if silence itself has become the villain. Morning shows replay it with dramatic music. News panels argue in neat little boxes. Social feeds turn into battlegrounds, lines drawn with hashtags and certainty. Accountability matters. Nuance matters. Silence is violence. Coercion isn't courage. Each phrase floats free from the person who said it, stripped of tone, of breath, of context. People argue with strangers they'll never meet, convinced they understand two lives they've only seen through a screen. In one clip, the audience gasp is looped for emphasis. In another, Sebastian's voice crack is slowed just enough to suggest guilt. In another, Sunny's raised eyebrow is frozen, framed as accusation. No one shows the off-mic moment. No one shows the quiet nod. No one shows the human pause where neither of them was trying to win. Sebastian wakes late, phone buzzing relentlessly on the nightstand. He doesn't reach for it right away. He lies there, staring at the ceiling, letting the noise gather at the edges instead of rushing headfirst into it. When he finally sits up, the room feels smaller somehow, like the walls have leaned in overnight. He scrolls. The numbers are staggering. Millions of views. Thousands of comments every minute. Think pieces already written by people who've never spoken to him, never heard him finish a thought. One headline reads, Sebastian Stan refuses to take a stand. Another counters, Sebastian Stan pushes back against forced activism. He lets out a humorless laugh. Two realities built from the same footage. His team calls. He lets it go to voicemail. Across town, Sunny Hostin is already awake, coffee cooling beside her laptop as she reads emails from producers, colleagues, activists, critics. Some thank her for holding the line. Others accuse her of grandstanding, of ambushing, of turning empathy into a test. She reads them all. Sunny has spent her career being told she's too sharp, too direct, too much. She's learned to carry that weight with her chin up. But this is heavier. She opens a message from a young woman she doesn't know. I watched you yesterday, it reads. And for the first time, I felt like someone on TV was asking the question I'm afraid to ask people in my life. Sunny closes her eyes. Another message comes in, just seconds later. You made him uncomfortable for no reason. That wasn't fair. Two truths. Both real. Both incompatible. The View airs again that day, the atmosphere noticeably different. The hosts speak carefully now, measured. They reference the interview without replaying the full clip, acknowledging the reaction without inflaming it further. Sunny speaks last. What happened yesterday, she says, voice steady, sparked a lot of conversation. And conversation can be uncomfortable. But it's also necessary. We don't have to agree, but we do have to listen. Some applaud. Others don't. The comment sections explode all over again. Sebastian leaves his apartment that afternoon, hoodie up, sunglasses on. He moves through the city like a ghost, aware of eyes on him even when there are none. At a crosswalk, two people recognize him. One nods in quiet support. The other shakes their head, muttering something under their breath. Both think they know him. He ducks into a cafe, orders coffee he barely tastes. The barista hesitates before handing him the cup. Rough week, she asks gently. Sebastian meets her eyes. For a second, he considers deflecting, smiling, performing. Instead, he exhales. Yeah, he says. A little. She nods, offering a small, human smile. It'll pass. He hopes she's right. Online, the discourse peaks. Celebrities weigh in without naming names. Influencers monetize reaction videos. Academics thread nuance into tweets that disappear beneath outrage. Then, slowly, the wave begins to crest. Something shifts, not dramatically, not cleanly, but perceptibly. A longer clip starts circulating. Not the sharpest exchange, not the most explosive soundbite, but the moment when Sonny asked if he felt misunderstood. The moment when he said, "All the time." People pause on that one. Just for a second. A clip of Sonny saying, "I appreciate your honesty, even when we don't fully agree," starts to gain traction too. It doesn't go as viral. It doesn't inflame. But it lingers. Think pieces adjust their tone. Words like complex, messy, and human start appearing. Sebastian sits at his desk that night, staring at a blank document. He's been thinking all day. Not about defending himself, but about the young fans Sonny mentioned. The ones watching, hoping, hurting. He types a sentence. Deletes it. Types another. Deletes that too. Finally, he writes something simple. Not a manifesto. Not an apology tour. Just truth. He posts it. "I don't have all the answers. I never claimed to. What I do have is a belief that conversation matters. And that empathy should go both ways. I'm listening. I'm learning. And I'm still human." The response is immediate. Mixed. But quieter. Less feral. Sonny sees the post later that night. She reads it twice. Then a third time. She doesn't comment. She doesn't retweet. She simply nods to herself. Days pass. The cycle moves on, as it always does. Another controversy rises. Another clip demands attention. The world's appetite for outrage finds a new meal. But this moment doesn't vanish completely. It settles. In classrooms, professors reference it when talking about media framing. In group chats, friends argue about it with more care than before. In living rooms, people ask each other questions they've been avoiding. Sebastian returns to work eventually. On set, someone mentions the interview cautiously. "That was something," they say. He nods. "Yeah," he replies. "It was." Sonny continues hosting, continues asking hard questions. She's more aware now of how quickly intention can be twisted, but she doesn't soften her edge. She sharpens her listening instead. Months later, in a different interview, Sebastian is asked about that moment. He pauses, smiles faintly. "It reminded me," he says, "that being seen doesn't mean being understood. And that's okay. It just means we have to keep talking." The interviewer nods, satisfied. The clip circulates quietly. No outrage. No war. Just a thought. And somewhere out there, viewers remember that day, not as a winner or a loser, but as a rare moment when daytime television cracked open something real. Two people. One table. No easy answers. If you felt that tension, if you found yourself taking sides, questioning your own, or sitting with the discomfort of it all, drop your thoughts in the comments. Whose perspective resonated with you and why? And if you want more cinematic, inside-the-moment stories where masks slip and truth gets messy, subscribe to Stage View right now. Like the video, share it with someone who loves real conversations, and stay with us, because the most powerful moments are the ones that don't let you look away.